Stories from Real Life is a production of Media Well Done, LLC.
On today's episode of Stories from Real Life with Melvin E. Edwards. Most advice about changing your life focuses on tactics. Wake up earlier, exercise more, stay disciplined. But Connie Kwan believes we've been solving the wrong problem. After leading products at Microsoft, Atlassian, Silicon Valley startups, and a company helping smokers quit one of the hardest addictions on earth, she discovered that lasting change rarely begins with discipline. Instead, it begins with identity. In this conversation, Connie explains why the stories we tell ourselves determine the habits we build, how artificial intelligence is reshaping entrepreneurship, and why storytelling may become the most valuable leadership skill of the next decade. Whether you're building a company, changing careers, or simply trying to become a better version of yourself, this episode offers a refreshing perspective on lasting transformation. This is Stories from Real Life, and today's story is Connie Kwan's Building Better Habits Through Better Stories.
You are listening to Stories from Real Life, a podcast by engaging storytellers for engaged story listeners. Here's your host, author and journalist, Melvin E. Edwards.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Stories from Real Life. I'm your host, Melvin E. Edwards. Thank you for joining us for the podcast where real stories are so much more interesting than fiction. Today on the show, my guest is Connie Kwan, the CEO of Product Maestro and a storytelling coach, and she joins us from California. Connie, welcome to Stories from Real Life.
Thank you, Melvin.
Appreciate having you here. So before we get started, tell us a little bit about your book. We can get into more details throughout the episode, but just give me an overview of your book.
Yeah, so Story Habits is a story building method based on the premise that you need to figure out the identity piece before all the other steps. Because the question is, well, there's a lot of great habit change books out there, and I've read them all, and I think they're all great. You should 100% get them. The piece that's missing is the step one, which is actually a lot of examples in those books are people who are already fully committed, athletes who are like, their whole life is riding a bike. And so, of course, the 1% better works for that. But if for most of us who are jumping into habit, it may be walking into it with, hey, I read the 5 a.m. club book and I said, maybe it's nice. Maybe I should try the 5 a.m. club and wake up at 5 and do the run and do those things. And of course, the bell rings in the morning or the alarm rings in the morning. And the first thing we do is hit snooze, because we haven't actually told the story of why it is that we want to do this habit and what does it mean to us and how does it tie to our life and what is the value behind this habit specifically and how that drives that habit. And so if we examine the habits in our lives, they're all driven by a story either programmed into us from childhood or that we've programmed in ourselves. And that is the engine that's powering all our habits. And if we don't get that story right at the onset of making that habit shift, then we can't actually sustain that habit. And so that's the premise of the book is let's have a framework around that piece so we can all get step one right instead of failing at step 4 and feeling like, we've all failed. Let's take a step back and do step 1 and then do all the other steps so that we can build good habits, the habits that we want.
Okay. You talked about habits beginning in childhood. And speaking of childhood, if I met 12-year-old Connie, you were back in Hong Kong, yes, what would surprise Connie the most about the life you're living today?
That I can speak 2.5 languages. That
2.5.
2.5. I consider Spanish a half. And some people consider Mandarin and Cantonese separate. So you can make it 3 if that's the case, but I consider them one language, but I can speak both. That I travel 3 months every year with my family, that I have a kid. I never imagined myself as a mother ever, like in my life, until I became a mother. So that was actually a bit of a surprise to myself. She wasn't not surprised. She wasn't an accident. But the fact that I decided to go this path was a surprise to my 12-year-old self. So yeah, life takes interesting turns.
It absolutely does. So tell us about growing up in Hong Kong.
I did age 1 to 10 in Hong Kong and then 10 to 20 in like blue collar Canada, small, not tiny town, but 100,000 people versus, I don't know, it was like 6 million when I was in Hong Kong, right? Like on one dot you look at the map, Hong Kong's like barely a dot, and 6 million people jam into that. So it's very different, right? Being those two different lives, we could go downstairs and get all the different foods from the world. We get all the tropical foods. We get, all the different cuisines that we want. It's bilingual, sort of, like it's mostly Cantonese, but if you want to get a job, you kind of have to speak some English too. So I had the benefit of learning another language early. It's very metropolitan. Like life is fashion and eating food. Like if I grew up there as a teenager, I did not spend my teenage years there, but if I was a teenager there, then the hobbies that you can have is go out and eat with your friends, go to the movies, and get brand new clothes. Like that is the prevailing thing, because the whole place is a shopping mall. It's either an apartment with residential or a shopping mall, and then now they're building residential on the top and shopping malls on the bottom. So sometimes they're both, right? And so that is the life, is this very material girl type of life, which is very different than,
When was the last time you were there?
I was there, over 10 years ago. So a long time ago. Yeah, I haven't been back. But I didn't spend my teenage years there. I spent my 1 to 10 there. And in those years, you want parks, you want outdoor space, you want, areas to run. And instead of being indoors all the time and, like I didn't learn how to ride a bike until I moved away. Like I was on trainer wheels because there's just no space to do any of that. So I would say I had the wrong years there. It would have been better to do 1 to 10 in the park-like atmosphere of Canada, and then the teenage years in the metropolitan city where I can go ride the metro on my own and do everything. But we head the other way, and it's okay too. It meant that I got to experience both. I think that's what mattered.
So what was the adjustment to Canada like?
The adjustment. Oh, it was hard in some ways and easier in others. So Hong Kong's educational system is very rigorous. So when I moved to Canada, one of the things my 10-year-old self was very excited about was, oh, wow, the school's going to be so easy. Like the math was so easy. Like literally they were learning things I was learning 2 years ago. So in many ways, some of the curriculum was very easy for me. There's a huge language barrier, right? Because yes, I learned English, but in written and in written form, not in everyday conversation form. So I was in a class and I wouldn't really understand what's going on. When they write it down, if they hand me a book, I'm like, yes, I get it. But, kids were teasing me. There were 2 Asians in my whole entire grade. And the other Asian is born there. So she looks Asian, but she doesn't have Asian roots directly. Like she had, ancestry. So I was like token Asian basically. And it was really hard because kids would tease me and I wouldn't know what's going on. So you can say like, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's sort of a blessing in disguise, and that they were teasing me and I didn't know. And so I didn't take it as hard, but you kind of, as a kid, they're teasing you. You don't have any comebacks because you don't even understand enough to have comebacks. So I think that was hard in retrospect, but in the moment it was just life,
Okay, obviously some Canadians have a much different dialect than you would have, say, in California where you are now. My favorite word to hear Canadians say, and of course Minnesotans too, they say it the same way, ABOUT, the word AB. Let me hear you say that word.
Okay. So I kind of lost it. Now I say about, but okay. About. I know how to say it the Canadian way, which is like about.
About.
Yeah. It's not a boot. It's not a boot. It's like a boat. Yeah, like that.
My favorite Canadian word. All right. So have you always been interested in technology?
Yes. Yes, to age 12, I would say. Because my dad had a computer store. So this was the era where you build the tower, you buy all the bits, pieces and a motherboard, and you plug everything in, and it's in a tower. Remember those computers? And so my dad had a store along with family that built these for people, which meant I can do no wrong. I can break all the computers and my dad will fix it. So
Nice.
that means, and that's a huge benefit. Like if you learn the story of Bill Gates, like that's basically what he had. He hit the moment when he had access to these multi-million-dollar computers and not everybody had access to them. And, he was able to go up that learning curve and learn. So I was lucky in that I had this access, but I was a lot younger than he was. So I kind of missed his boat. But I got to just play with computers. So I was like on ICQ, there were like, chat rooms. I was in them, and obviously all the early games, and it's cool because I could just play with it and kind of learn from playing with it. Whereas most other kids are like, their parents don't even let them on the computer because it's so expensive. Or if they do, it's like, okay, you can only do 2 things on here, right? Like it's more limited, and you need a playground. That's how you learn. Is you get into a playground, you make mistakes and you figure it out. So I had the opportunity to do that, which was nice. And I learned in high school that I really like coding because they started teaching coding classes at that time. It was really fun. So I ended up going to computer engineering at University of Waterloo in Canada, which is the engineering school. All the nerds went there. For the entrance test, they had a math competition. It wasn't a test. It was called the Descartes math competition. And if you scored well, like if you don't take it, then you may still get in. But like it's kind of an unspoken thing that you take this competition so that the score from that is part of your application. And so, I would sit in they had these past tests, right? Past competition examinations. And I would sit in the room like after school and just go through these math tests. And I was like, oh, this is so fun, and solving this problem and that problem. Like, I just enjoy it. I like problem solving, and this was fun for me. And so I ended up doing computer engineering because there's a lot of problem solving there.
Nerd.
Yeah, nerd.
So when did storytelling become important to you?
Okay, so I came out of nerd school and I went into a job called product management. It wasn't a direct path, but I was on the way there. And what happens in product management in a technology company is they have sales and marketing, right? The front-facing folks. And then there's engineering that builds all the stuff. But then somebody needs to interpret what's out in the field into what actually gets built in code. And that person is product management. And for a long time, that person did not exist. That person was marketing for a long time. But marketing doesn't really speak engineering. So they would fight and they would not misunderstand each other, and problems would come up. And so they decided, oh, you know what? We need somebody called product management who is going to do that. So I ended up in that role. And once I ended up in that role, I realized, oh, you know what? I've actually been doing this while I was still in nerd school, because I was doing computer engineering. And year 3 or 4, I decided, you know what? All the other, and I was like, there were 7 women in a class of 150 guys. So there were very, very few women. And so I would say guys, like literally it was just the guys. So the guys want to code all the time. Like they want to go all weekend coding. And I'm like, I don't know. I want to go and like hang out, make friends. So it was very natural that I became the person who writes all the specifications, because they made us write the specifications. Like, what is this code going to do? And then they say, okay, now write the pseudocode, like here's a while loop and this happens inside and whatever. But you don't write the actual code in the C++ or Java or whatever. And then you write the C++ and Java, right? So it's kind of 3-step process. So I'm the one who gets not volunteered, but I kind of volunteer myself to be like, okay, I'll write the documents that go with the code, because we have to submit all of it, right, for an assignment. And it turns out, and I would recruit the people who would write the code, because I'm like, oh, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. And, they just want to code. They don't care which team they're on. So I would recruit the people. I would tell them what we're going to write, and I would make the pseudocode, and they would write the code, and we would submit the assignment. And it turns out that is a job. The not write code part, but the pseudocode and the definition part is a job called product management. So it turns out I was already doing that in school. It's just at the time that now you can actually go to school for product management. But at the time, that was not yet a class. So it was a natural fit for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. All right. So, what separates truly great product leaders from the average ones?
Truly great. I think curiosity is a huge asset that when I hire, I'm always looking for someone who is curious and doesn't stop. Like in terms of like I need to go down this why. You know, like the 5 whys that people do. Like I'm gonna go and investigate. Well, you're a journalist, so you know this curiosity, right? Like you have to get to the bottom of the story. And when you're a good product manager, you get to the bottom of the story. You understand. You don't just understand. Oh, the customers come to you and said, "I want to put a red button here." You're like, "Oh, why the red button there? And why red? Like why there? And what does it do for you? Like what does that mean for you?" And then you realize once you get into that question, you realize, you know what? You don't need a red button there. They just need the thing done already. Like the red button is how they express what they want done, but what they want done should have been automatically done. So then you build the feature in that item's already done, and then it tells you, oh, this was done. By the way, it's a notification. So maybe the feature is built completely differently once you understand what the intent is, right? And I need somebody who is willing to go down that rabbit hole with people instead of just taking everything at face value. So that's what I mean by curiosity. Is someone who like will chase down the situation and fully understand what's behind it. And that goes for like building features for customers, but also, you know, if sales comes in and said, oh yeah, we need this thing. Like, okay, explain, tell me what, which customers are asking for it? Tell me more. Oh, you just have one person asking for it in some obscure little account? Maybe that doesn't matter, right? Like there's some judgment involved in taking in the information. And I think some folks don't take the time to fully understand that. They just take the information as given, and a good product manager can't do that. That won't be that in some roles that's okay, but in product management that is not okay.
Okay, so is this something you learned at Microsoft while you were there?
Is there something I learned in Microsoft?
I learned that particular product leader role.
Oh, is that particular? No, I would say I learned that just along the way, like as I started hiring. I think when I became a manager and I started to hire product managers, I had to think about what am I hiring for? Like what is something that's going to help me relax and chill that this person is doing a good job, you know? So that's when I started really clarifying what attributes I'm hiring for. Because everything else you can learn on the way. Like I think a technical background is really helpful if you're doing a product that's very technical, but that is not the most important thing. I think somebody who, I think this curiosity, and this curiosity comes with the desire to learn. It kind of comes together. So I don't have to separate it. It kind of comes in a package. And like someone who can learn in this way will be fine because they'll pick up the market or the industry that they're put into. They'll pick up whatever technical knowledge they need because they'll go to the right people and they'll ask those questions because they're naturally curious. So they'll figure those things out. But if they don't have that innate, you can't teach that. That's one part you can't teach is this kind of desire to go ferret things out and desire to explore and understand. That I don't think that's a teachable skill. That's sort of something innate to a person.
Okay. So what mistakes do founders repeatedly make that you've seen?
Founders. I've made this mistake. If I build it, they will come mentality. It's not ready to ship, I need to make it better mentality. I failed on both of those accounts myself as a founder in the past. It's easy to do the easier thing, which there are two kinds of founders. There are builders who will become founders, and then there's sales people who become founders. I think the builders fall into the trap of building too much. And the salespeople I don't know. I'm not that personality, so I'm making a conjecture here, but I think that personality can fall into the trap of overpromising what can be built. So both of those just have to check, like we're good at that side of the house. We just have to check the tendency to do the easy thing for us, right? And the easy thing for the builder is to just, well, I can add another widget. I can add another feature. I think they might like this. And then I'm in the lab building all day long and I haven't shown it to anybody yet. And that kills the business, right? Yeah.
So has AI fundamentally changed entrepreneurship?
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's talks months ago, articles written about the one person unicorn. It's fundamentally changed how I work in product. Like I do product engineering and design now. Really, it used to be 3 different people, and we would meet together and work together. And now the other 2 folks on my team are AI agents. Like I just ask for, please build the app that will do XYZ. Okay, great. I wanted these attributes in there, and they'll do some research about this, by the way, so that you can make sure you're informed when you build it out. And I would like you to reference this website in terms of design and this website in terms of style. Like I can just have it go and do all these aspects that previously I would hire someone to do or hire multiple people to do. So it's really shortened the cycle from idea to a tangible, at least software, but even hardware now. Like you can 3D print things, right? Like it's not just AI, but it's AI in combination with all these other technologies that has bridged the software world with the physical world. So suddenly you can have AI, if you give it all the controls, you can have it do some crazy stuff, but it's dangerous too, because it can do some crazy stuff.
All right. At the beginning of this conversation, we talked about the story habit, which is your book. What do people keep repeating, or why do people keep repeating behaviors that they hate?
Because it's a familiar feeling, right? It's comforting to keep doing that thing, whatever that thing is. And often it's something that gives us some dopamine or serotonin hit. So there's a chemical feedback loop that's keeping us doing it, Could be drinking coffee. Like how many coffee drinkers have you met? It's like, I gotta have my morning coffee. Some people are like, I'm so proud that I need my morning coffee. And some people are like, my doctor's been telling me to quit for a while, but I just can't, right? So first camp, great, like love your life. Second camp, yeah, maybe there's a change that you want to make, but it's really hard to make because your brain is expecting this in the morning. It's giving you, it's waking you up, it's giving you a hit, and it's just really hard, like why to make that change, there's a lot of steps that need to happen. Mentally, physically, environmentally, you might have to redesign your drive to work so you don't pass by the coffee shop. Like all these things would have to happen. And it's a conscious design effort. It's like building a product, right? It's like you have to think about all the user journey steps that's happening for yourself as a person who's trying to make a shift. And then you have to go execute on all those steps. And so, it's easier to be like, forget it. That's too hard.
Just drink the
right? Just drink the coffee. I've been doing it for years. Still here, still alive. So whatever. That seems the easier path. So I get it. It's not, and it's, some habits are not necessary to change, but if you really want to do it, then it takes a really concerted effort.
Okay. Why doesn't just normal willpower work?
Because it runs out. It runs out. I mean, how many times have you felt really gung-ho in the beginning of a project and then 2 weeks in started losing that momentum?
Yeah,
right?
I don't want to talk about that.
You don't want to talk about that. That means something right there. We can talk about it offline. But yeah, it's easy to lose momentum because that willpower runs out. So we need to have something else that will anchor us in those moments of indecision or those weaker moments that we all have.
So can someone literally rewrite their identity?
Yes, 100%. We do it all the time. People become parents. That's a huge identity rewrite. Our whole lives are switched around for this new person in our life, right? And some people get into it with a lot of prep, and some people don't. But either way, guess what? Your identity is rewritten with or without your permission at the end of that. So there are moments in our lives where the identity is rewritten for us. And parenthood is one. Health crisis can be another, like a diagnosis of some kind. It could be, a spouse either leaving or passing, right? That rewrites your identity. So events in our lives rewrite our identity. Oh, we can come into, happy changes. Suddenly we win the lottery, or suddenly we come into a huge inheritance. Guess what? That rewrites your identity too. So every moment that could happen in our lives can rewrite our identity. We can get into an accident one day, and you can completely survive it with all of your health intact, but still your identity would be rewritten. Your expectation about the world, maybe your fear or not fear of being in a vehicle, can be changed, right? So all these things can have subtle or big effects in your life that will rewrite your identity. So yes, can we completely rewrite it? Does it get rewritten completely? 100%. Can we consciously choose to rewrite it? Also 100%. For the same reason.
Okay. Well, so what's one misconception people have about habits?
Misconception. People think that habits is the behavior only, right? Just like, oh, I need to drink more water, so I'm just start drinking more water, and then eventually I'm a high volume water drinker. Great. But the issue is it's a little bit more comprehensive than that. Like water drinking may be sort of neutral for a lot of people. So maybe that one is not, you don't have a huge identity shift around it. But there's always a mental component to it. And some habits have more mental components. Like, you might be asking, well, I'm a tech person. How did I suddenly decide to write a habit book? That's sort of a jump. And the reason is, along the way, I worked at a company. I was chief product officer for a company that helped people quit smoking. So we were working on the Olympics of habit change, right? We've got the chemical addiction. We've got the social reinforcement. We've got the identity ownership of that. Like how many people who smoke tell you I'm a smoker? Like, it's not like I smoke. It's like, I am a smoker. They own that. So that shift is huge. And what I discovered in retrospect, like I've been teaching storytelling after that, worked on products, and then looking back, I realized, oh, the people who did not quit, they said, I would like to quit. I should quit. My doctor told me to quit. Those people don't quit. The people who quit successfully, they would say, I'm a father who will be there for his son's graduation. That person quit, right? And you're like, but that's such a subtle difference. Isn't that a subtle difference? But it's not. It's a huge difference in their commitment level, in what they're able to do when they fall off that horse and have to get back on again, because we all do. The only thing that can be certain in a habit change journey is that we will fail. And when we fail, we need a way to get back on that horse, right? And so this person, because he is committed and family is a huge value for him, he's committed, he's able to get back on the horse. So something that people don't realize is that the story in the beginning of why I'm doing this habit, why I'm making this change, who am I doing this for? Is it for me? Is it for someone else? Is there a value of mine that I anchor it on? Right? That really matters. And if we get that right, then everything else comes much easier. And it gives us a catch when we fall, because we will always fall when we do habit change.
If you're enjoying today's conversation, I'd like to invite you to visit MediaWellDoneLLC.com. That's where you'll find everything we do at Media Well Done, from this podcast to our growing library of books. You can also get a schedule of where our authors will be for their next book signing so that you can come out and meet us and get your book signed. Whether you're looking for a thought-provoking novel like Nuremberg, Mississippi, a family history like The Names They Kept, or the forthcoming historical piece Baker Battery Goes to War, you'll find them all in one place. The best part is that when you purchase directly from MediaWellDoneLLC.com, you're helping support independent publishing and this podcast, allowing us to continue bringing you meaningful conversations every week. Again, that's MediaWellDoneLLC.com. Check out the website for yourself and let us know what you think. Okay. organizations develop story habits?
Oh, 100%. 100%. So I worked at a company called Atlassian, which is unknown to most of the world. But if you're a developer, if you write code, then all of them will know about it because they have a project management platform called Jira that all of engineering runs on, basically. And so we had a lot of team habits called Agile, because I don't know if you heard of like Agile development. It's like it's a whole thing in the engineering development world. And Agile is just a set of, if you boil it down, it's a set of habits for a team that helps teams stay transparent, connected, and moving in the same direction without blame, right? Because you don't want to, if things go bad, if code breaks, we don't want to blame an individual. We want to look at the system as a whole and say, what happened here? How do we prevent this from happening again? And how do we do this as a team? So there are habits that are formed around this methodology called Agile that helps teams ship good code and review them. And when things go wrong, we catch them and we fix them and we make sure it doesn't happen again. So all of these are habits. And so 100%, there are team habits that matter. And if we can cultivate good team habits, then we have a better team, we have a healthier work environment, and we ship better code. We build better products for our customers.
Okay. So can families develop story habits?
Yes. I read a book called The Secret of Happy Families. And it was written by a fellow tech person. I didn't know this walking in. I was just recommended to me this book. And so I read it. I'm like, interesting. So when I looked at the author, I'm like, oh, this person is also a tech person. Because there was a lot of Agile methodologies in the book. It was talking about, it's like a lighter version, right? Because one of the Agile things that we do is we have this retrospective. So at the end of every week, the team gets together and we talk about, what went well, what didn't go so well, what would we, start, stop, continue. Like there are all these different frameworks you can use. But the idea is let's review what happened. Let's figure out how to shift things if we need to. And then the next week we'll move forward and do. And it forces a conversation. It forces the team or your family to have this conversation. So rather than fighting in the moment of heat, right? When we're like in the kitchen and like, why didn't you do the dishes? It's like, okay, you save that for the Friday when you're going to have that meeting where you say, on Tuesday when the dishes were there, like I felt this, I felt like I'm the only one holding the ball and I would really like some more people to help me juggle this ball and maybe we can set up something. And then someone else like, let me suggest some options, right? So it becomes a conversation about how we solve this dishes problem versus, I hate you because you didn't do the dishes, right? So it helps a lot to have the space for the family. So this is one example of a habit that a family can have that would help build better communication skills. And, every family is different and every family has a different way of approaching it. But I think we can 100% build habits that are beneficial for a happier family. And we have to have the story to go with that to make sure that we can keep those habits continuing.
Okay, talking about dishes, I posted something on Facebook this morning that I'd seen somewhere online. This woman named Brenda posted something that said, maturing in marriage is realizing that when your husband says he'd do anything for you, he means fighting bad guys and dragons and stuff, not folding clothes and washing dishes. And then this guy named David responded. He says, have you been attacked by a dragon since you married him? Show some respect, Brenda. So we have roles. We have strengths, I guess, and weaknesses.
Yep. The absence of the dragon does not prove that he has fought dragons.
But there's no presence of the dragons to prove he has not fought dragons.
That's true, but I think the presence of cooked dragons is the ultimate proof that dragons were fought.
Well, they're probably too tough to eat, so it wouldn't. Nobody would want that.
But I need evidence that the dragon thing was done, so.
Man, you're tough.
Otherwise, it's dishes for you.
You're tough. All right, let's move to AI because the AI can probably take care of the dragon for us.
Yeah, I think so.
So what skills become more valuable because of AI?
Hmm. Discernment, taste. Those are things that AI don't really. Being funny, like telling jokes. At least AI hasn't figured that out yet, but maybe it will. We don't know. We don't know where it'll go. But for now, and convening folks, I think AI helps you make connections with the right folks that can help you do the research aspect of it. But the actual, face to face part, the actual like banter and us having a good conversation and me being a good listener and making friends and all those skills that growing up we're trying to learn in school and trying to build a community with, those skills, we still need to have those skills, and AI is not going to be replacing those skills because ultimately AI doesn't need them. Like AI is not out there trying to make friends, I suppose, is one way to put it, right? We're out there trying to make friends and have human connection. So we're not going to, because AI is going to get good at the things that we program it to get good at. So AI isn't just automatically going to get good at everything. It's very good at coding right now because there's so much money in coding that all the smartest minds in the world that are being hired by these AI companies, like that's the problem they're out there solving. I would like for some of them to be out there solving the climate problem, but there's not enough money in that, to be honest. So like AI isn't going to naturally be solving everything. It's going to be solving where the money is, going to chase the money, which is logical. That's how everything works. And so there's a lot of things that are going to be harder for AI to do just because there will be no investment in that area.
So is storytelling becoming more important or less important because of AI?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. There are different aspects to it. And I'm curious your thoughts on that because you're a storyteller. There's the written forms of storytelling. AI is doing a lot of that work, or at least it's doing the front work part, right? It can help me write an article really well, but it needs the seeds, it needs the ideas in order to write something. If I just say, write something, it would mean nothing. It would just be a lot of filler. I don't know if you've used it to produce content on your side. What have you noticed?
Well, I love certain aspects of AI.
Yeah.
For one, my favorite thing is to take a picture of somebody and then put that in AI and tell it to do something. Tell AI to make something funny out of it. But that's a different. But I did that when my family went to Europe a couple months ago, and we took pictures of like my stepson when he was sleeping. He fell asleep at the restaurant, and I took a picture of him, and then I told Chat GPT to like make the Z's coming out of his mouth and put a sleeping cap on him. So that's the kind of funny stuff I like to do with AI. But I also use it as a research assistant. So when I'm things that like for this podcast, for instance, when I started this podcast, I would spend an average of 2 hours researching each guest to prepare the questions for that episode. And now I find the bios, I find their websites, I put those into Chat or Gemini, and I say, give me 5 questions on this topic. Yep. And they're not I may take 2 of those 5 and then add 3 more of my own. But it saves me so much time. And yesterday I used it for something for the first time, and I thought, why haven't I ever thought of this before? Because I'm really like genealogy is something that's a passion of mine. Right. And so I've done genealogy research for 40 years, I guess. And yesterday the idea came to me, like, why don't I insert some of the stuff that I've found into Chat GPT and have it help me find some stuff that I haven't been able to find. And it actually worked. It didn't go as far back as I had hoped it would. Right. It ran into the same problems I've run into. Right. Being the descendant of formerly enslaved people, there's just not any documentation anywhere. So you can't find something that's not there. Right. But it did help me piece together some things that I probably knew, but I hadn't really thought of them in that type of way of grouping them. So I think it has some functions. I think it has it has a useful purpose, and I think people give it too. They think everything is negative about it. They call everything that AI does AI slop, and I just don't think that's true.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. I think AI helps put ideas out there that would otherwise just be locked away in minds because it's so hard to translate from, I would say, did AI change storytelling? I would say AI made storytelling more accessible for every person, right? What you described just now, where it did all that research so that we can have this conversation today, it saved you time in prepping for this conversation. And this is a story that we're building right here together, which would have taken you so much more time. So suddenly you can have twice as many conversations and record them, right? So it's an accelerator for storytellers. But it doesn't mean it's itself a good storyteller. You know what? It does a really good job of building beautiful sentences. But those sentences can be extremely empty if I'm not giving it the context. But if I give it the context, it's suddenly building these beautiful paragraphs for me that I can just use directly. And people say, oh, well, that's slop. But no. I gave it the seed that had that, it had that story arc in it. It had the little Red Riding Hood was walking through a creepy forest and then boom, ran into a wolf, right? Like that trajectory of the story. And that's every story, right? Is that got that arc, that climax, and then it comes right down. And that's a lived human experience that we all share. So if you're into genealogy, which is perfect. So if you're telling a story of a person and their lineage, if you give it the seed of that person's story, it can build that movie, not just an article. It can literally go and build a whole movie if you use the right combination of AI. And that wouldn't have been possible before in such a short amount of time. And that story would just never have been told because it takes too much effort. But now you can build a movie. Like if you work with people who are like, I would like to build a movie about my family and the origins of me. You know what? You can build that movie now for, I don't know, hundreds of dollars. It's crazy what you can do. And maybe that movie gets watched by 10 family members, but it's meaningful to those 10 family members. And you would never do that before AI. Like how much production cost it would be to create such a movie. But now you can do it. And so we can all tell these stories. So I think the world will be richer with stories because the storytelling medium is now unlocked by AI.
Wow.
But it also means there's a lot of what people call slop because people in the sandbox, right? Like they're in the sandbox, they're playing with stuff, they're trying to put out there and see what hits. But I think, it's a classic problem. There'll be really good stories that would otherwise not be told, and there will be a lot of noise at the same time.
Wow. I never even thought about using it to create like a movie, for instance, something visual instead of just other than making funny things on people's pictures when they're sleeping in restaurants. But making movies, that sounds fascinating.
Yeah, because Hollywood now has specialized tools that are AI powered that do storyboarding. And you can do in the past they always did storyboarding, right? You're familiar with that technique already. And then from there they hire the actors and they build the scene. But now you can just have AI key certain characters and it would maintain those characters. And Sora, etc., have been experimenting with video. You would have to pay for a specialized tool because it's not generally like ChatGPT isn't going to do it for you at $20 a month. But there are specialized tools that will animate. And it could be not super fancy, but it's still a movie. And it's a full, you can have a full 20-minute movie of this is my ancestry. And that is definitely possible now at less than $1,000. Yeah.
Nice. I'll have to look into that. All right. So let's get into personal things here as we start to come down to the last few minutes of this conversation. So what's a habit you're still working on?
I'll tell you 2 stories. So I'll tell you the habit that I successfully have working with story habits. And then I'll tell you a habit that I am still working on right now. So the first one is I was trying to reduce dessert intake by like 30%. Not fully cut it, just...
Did you say less. Dessert intake?
Dessert intake. Okay. Yes, the eating of dessert. Sorry, I'm using unnecessarily fancy words.
I don't speak nerd. Well, actually, I do.
You don't
I'm
nerd.
going to confess that I'm something of a nerd too. So here we go.
We're all nerds of different things.
Yeah.
I think being a nerd of something is a very important attribute. Makes you interesting because then you're really like deep into something. You have a hobby, you have a passion. I think
Okay,
that's good.
continue. Tell us about your
Yeah,
dessert.
let me
intake.
talk. Okay, so I'm reducing my dessert eating and by 30%. And so what I said was, rather than relying on willpower, I'm going to figure out what is a value that I have that I can anchor on, and then it'll just be hacked. It'll just work. So I was like, okay, what works? I'm frugal because I'm an immigrant twice. My parents are immigrants. So it just kind of got programmed in there, right? It's something I have. I didn't work for it. It's just there. I'm like, okay, how do I tie the two together? Can I tie the two together? And I decided I'm only going to eat expensive desserts. So I go down to the cafe, the fancy French one that charges you $10 for one tiny slice of cake. And I eat that. And then I'm like, when I pay for it, I'm like, ooh, this is kind of expensive. And I'm not going to come back again for 2 weeks. So as a result of that, because I have this natural, basically, anchor for it, right? Like it naturally pulls in the other direction. I reduced by like 50%. I hardly ever eat it because I have to go and, first I have to go out, so it's more work. And then when I go out, I have to get the fancy one. And it's like, ooh, there's a lot. So it automatically controls it, which is really magical because I'm not using willpower for it anymore. I'm a fancy dessert eater now. So that's my identity.
Do you eat like this with your pinky up now?
Yeah, exactly. Gotta have it with a cup of tea, all that stuff. But I enjoy it. Like the point of dessert is to have an experience at the end of the day. It's not about the calories. In fact, the calories is the thing I don't want. So this becomes everything I want without everything I don't want. So that was a very important story that I told myself, which then turned into an identity, which then made the habit happen. The habit I'm still working on is TV. I watch too much TV of all kinds, Netflix, Prime Video, whatever, what have you. They all count as TV for me. And it doesn't help that it used to be you get one episode a week. And if you wait long enough, you can record enough episodes, then you can binge it. But you still have to wait and then binge. Now you can just start binging. And there's endless content in all of the platforms. And it's super cheap at like $10 a month. You can binge and spend your whole life there. So that is really hard for me because everybody has is prone to certain addictive substance, let's call it a substance for me. And for me, the substance is TV, right? Because it builds serotonin. Like I think I am low on serotonin. I actually did the 23andMe thing. And it tells me that serotonin is actually harder for me genetically to produce. So when late at night, I want serotonin in my system, I end up watching TV. That's what actually happens. That's the feedback loop that's happening.
It's interesting.
So I recognize that. So I've been struggling with it. I've been doing this framework with people for the last 3 years, the Story Habits, which is now turning into a book. But I'm still struggling with it. So I'm like, I got to fix this. I can't be somebody who's talking about habits and don't have it solved. So I wrote an app so that I have a mirror because it's really hard to do it to yourself, to figure out what is the pattern, how do I do it? I need somebody to brainstorm with. So I wrote an app to help, like an AI, to help me figure out this pattern. And so I recently, I'm pretty far along now with the app, and I recently used it and I had a conversation with it. And so my habit experiment right now is I recognize that as a serotonin loop issue. So rather than watching TV, I'm going to go through my photos. I keep all my photos online. I'm going to go through my photos and look at some old photos with friends. And I'm going to grab an old friend photo that I took with a friend. And I'm going to send them an email and say, hey, look what popped up today. And that was entirely suggested by AI, like that. I think it suggested looking at old photos I asked it, what are some activities I can do to boost serotonin? And it told me about the photos. So I said, oh, I can do that. And then if I email a friend, then that actually creates extra, because even an outreach, even if they didn't reciprocate, it's still like, oh, it's a warm, fuzzy feeling that I'm going for. So I'm going to try that as a replacement and see if that works for me. But yeah, this is something I'm actively working on. And it's going to take a couple iterations.
I like that. I like that idea. So what's one failure that you're grateful for?
And while you're saying that, I'm going to take a photo right now of you and me. Smile.
Jeez.
Perfect. I just took a screenshot. So now, if I have this moment, if you get an email from me saying, hey, Melvin, remember when we recorded the podcast? You're like, oh, yeah, she's having a TV moment.
That's her again.
That's what that is. And you get email me back say, hey, did you end up watching a show or did you end up skipping the show? You can check me on that.
Okay.
All right.
I got you.
Right. So what was your question?
What's one failure you're grateful for?
One failure I'm grateful for. Wow, so many to choose from, Melvin.
All right, a recent one. Let's give me a recent one.
Recent one? That's harder.
Okay.
That's harder because I have to come to terms with being okay with that failure first. So I'll give you an older one. So I worked on a startup that helped people. This was 10 years before the smoking cessation startup. The smoking cessation startup I joined, it wasn't my startup, but 10 years before that, I was working on a startup to help people eat better. This was the pedometer era where all the health plans was giving out, hey, you have one, you get one, you get one, like this pedometer. And the idea longitudinally is like, if you walk a lot and you take care of your health, maybe you get lower premiums. It never happened that way, right? They didn't want to have to judge people's health for premium charges. But I was working on a parallel product that is like a pedometer, but for food. So it was an app. It was like, here's how you cook at home, why it's healthier. It tracks like, these are the things you're cooking. Are you eating a balanced diet? All that stuff. Well, that flamed out. I spent a year on it, had a co-founder, we were building stuff, and that flamed out because we built too much. We built too much. We were builders and we were in there building, and I didn't spend enough time out there trying to see if it has any traction in the market. I did have like one customer that paid me, but it was like somebody I knew who like helped me out and just, it wasn't a real, like it wasn't a stranger, right? So it didn't really take off. So that was a big failure because it was a year of my life to spend on this project. But I think it was a necessary part of the path in my life, like we all go through these moments. And if it wasn't this one, it's something else. Like I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I need to start things and try things. That's part of who I am. And it's inevitable that a lot of them will fail. So this is one of the ones that flamed out.
Okay. That we talked about failure there. So let's talk about something on more optimistic. So what gives you hope?
What gives me hope? I think the people's, there's a lot of good intentions in the world. I think it's the force of good and evil. Like in the movies, they're always portraying the dark side, the and the goodness prevails. Like that's the story we want to hear. And I think in that is itself the evidence that we want that story to end with the good prevailing. The fact that we want that story to end that way means that humans inherently have that good, have that light. Like we want people who sacrifice for others to prevail. We want kindness to prevail. We want, we have this desire for it. And whether we individually act that way in certain moments is one thing. But I think the desire for it means that there will always be a fight for that side. So we may fail in a moment where we can choose kindness and we don't. But the fact that as a general population, and if you do the survey, that kindness is valued, that gives me hope that it would win at the end. So, it's not 100% versus 0, right? Kindness is like 65. And so you know what? The dark side will always have a piece of the world. But my hope is that it will ultimately prevail.
You talk about light there, but I have the tagline of my show talks about light. You'll hear that soon, and then you can think that you gave me the idea, and we'll just pretend you did, even though I've used it for 200 episodes.
The ideas are floating around, and everybody owns it. Okay.
All right, so
I live in a community where we value execution. We're like, ideas are a dime a dozen. Everybody's got ideas. It's the person who took the idea and did the grind. That's the person we reward.
Yes,
so I believe
the active nerd. That's what we're talking about here. All right, so as we start to wind down this conversation, let's have a quick lightning round. I'm going to start some sentences, and I would like for you to finish the sentences.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. The best leaders
are good storytellers.
All right. Success is
defined by your own self.
Failure is
data that helps you move forward.
The future of AI
is both exciting and scary.
Every entrepreneur should
keep going. Keep going.
The active nerd.
Don't give up.
All right. One book everyone should read.
Story Habits.
Nice. Nice. One habit everyone should build.
Oh. I think design, like, audit your life once in a while. Yeah, it's the one before all the habits happen. It's the, like, once in a while, just look at it. The New Year's resolution thing. I think that's helpful. Just use that to audit. What do I want to keep? What do I want to discard? So you can design the life you want.
Nice. All right, last question. The most important story you'll ever tell is?
Oh, the most important story you'll ever tell is what you are put on this earth to do.
Okay. Well, that's a good way to wind down this episode today. My guest has been Connie Kwan, who joins us from California. So Connie's book is called Story Habits, and the links to her book and online materials are all linked in the show notes. Connie, thank you for being here today. I really enjoyed this episode.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it too.
Good. All right, that's it for this week's episode of Stories from Real Life. Until next time, don't forget to shine your light wherever you go.
That was Stories from Real Life. Join us again next week for another great storytelling journey. See you next time.
Stories from Real Life is a production of Media Well Done, LLC.